At Christmas, my brother got the keys to a $1.2 million mansion. I got a $5 gift card. The room erupted in laughter, like it was some kind of joke. Only it wasn't. I walked out in silence, snow crunching beneath my boots, my chest burning with humiliation. My name is Lillian Hart, 27 years old. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Because what happens when the family that raised you treats you like an afterthought, then realizes the afterthought is holding the real power? I still remember that voicemail an hour later. Dad's voice was sharp, commanding, arrogant. "Return the house or we'll call the cops." The words replayed in my head over and over while I sat in my car outside their glittering home. Everyone inside was warm, drunk, celebrating his success. No one noticed me slip away. But the deed in my bag said something very different. The mansion they had just gifted my brother, the one they thought was his, legally had my name on it. Mine. They thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I'd stay small. Instead, I smiled in the dark, a smile so sharp it hurt my cheeks. If they wanted war, they were about to learn the difference between a spoiled son and a daughter who'd had enough. Because the mansion wasn't just a house. It was the beginning of a reckoning. And by the time Christmas lights came down, the golden child's crown would be nothing but ash. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls. Texts dripping with threats, then fake sweetness. "Lillian, let's talk this out. Return the deed before this gets ugly. You don't deserve that property anyway." I sat at my tiny kitchen table, the $5 gift card lying there like an insult carved in plastic. My brother's smug face flashed in my mind, the way he dangled those mansion keys like a trophy. The way Mom said, he earned it. Earned it? He hadn't worked a day in his life. Every car, every vacation, every success, paid for by my parents' money, by their endless devotion to their golden boy. Me? I was the one working double shifts, scraping by, paying off student loans while they laughed about my little life. But this deed? This was no accident. 5 years earlier, I'd loaned Dad money when his business teetered on collapse. He never thanked me, never repaid me. I let it go until a lawyer friend whispered advice: secure collateral. So I did. In silence. I made him sign. And he forgot. Until now. And suddenly, the tables had turned. By afternoon, Dad and Mom showed up at my apartment uninvited. Dad's fists pounded the door. "We can handle this quietly, Lil. Don't make a scene." I opened the door just enough to see their faces. Red, frantic, desperate. For once, they were the ones begging. I leaned against the frame, calm, steady. "I'm not giving it back. Not now, not ever." Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. Dad's jaw twitched. My brother hovered in the background, too cowardly to speak. For the first time in years, I wasn't the embarrassed one. They were. And it was only the beginning. By the third day, their tone had changed. The voicemails weren't threats anymore. They were pleas. "Sweetheart, your brother has a family. He needs stability. Think about how selfish this looks. You don't even know how to handle a place like that. Be reasonable. Sign it over. We'll make sure you're taken care of." Taken care of. Like a stray dog they'd toss scraps at. I drove to the mansion that afternoon. The air smelled of pine and cinnamon, the kind of staged luxury scent that made real life feel fake. A silver bow still hung across the garage. The driveway shimmered with imported stone. For a moment, standing there, I wanted to cry. Because this house wasn't just bricks. It was proof. Proof that after years of being laughed at, ignored, and dismissed, I had finally flipped the script. Inside, I walked room by room, gleaming hardwood floors, a chandelier dripping like stars, a balcony with ocean views. My heart didn't ache. It hardened. I sat at the mahogany desk in the study, pulled out the title deed, and whispered aloud. "My name is on it. Not his. Mine." That night, I called my lawyer. File the notice. Block any transfer attempts. And check for hidden liens. He chuckled. "You've been waiting for this, haven't you?" "Yes," I said. "For years." The next morning, the family group chat exploded. Screenshots flew in from relatives, friends, even Dad's business partners. Somehow, word had spread. Everyone now knew. The mansion wasn't gifted to the Golden Son. It was legally mine. The silence that followed from my parents was deafening. And then, at exactly 7:02 p.m., a text came in from my brother. 5 words. "You'll pay for this." But he didn't realize he was already paying. My brother's threat wasn't empty. It came with action. By sunrise, I got an email from the HOA. Unauthorized occupant reported. Ownership in dispute. Investigation underway. I smirked. Classic. He'd gone whining to the board, trying to paint me as some intruder in my own home. But by then, my lawyer had already filed the deed with the county clerk. Public record. Irrefutable. Still, I knew my brother. He wasn't just going to stop. That night, I parked my car outside the mansion, headlights off, and waited. At 11:46 p.m., a moving truck pulled up. My brother hopped out, face red, veins bulging. Behind him, Mom and Dad, arms crossed, looking smug. They really thought they could storm the place. I stepped out slowly, phone in hand, recording. "Evening," I said. "Need directions? Because this isn't your house." Mom hissed, "Stop embarrassing us. Hand it over before this gets ugly." I tapped the document app on my phone, holding the glowing screen toward them. Title deed. Filed. Stamped. My name. Not his. Dad lunged forward, but froze when I added. "And this conversation?" Already uploading to the cloud. Their faces dropped. Rage mixed with panic. They weren't used to being cornered. My brother kicked the moving truck tire, cursing under his breath, then spat. "You don't deserve it. You've always been nothing." I smiled. Funny. Nothing usually doesn't own a $1.2 million mansion. For a moment, the silence was thick enough to choke on. Then Mom snapped, "Fine. Enjoy your precious house. But don't come crawling back when you're alone." They left in a storm of headlights and dust. But I knew it wasn't over. Because less than an hour later, an unknown number called. A deep voice said, "We need to talk. About your brother's debt." The voice on the phone was sharp, heavy with menace. "Your brother owes us $200,000. And guess whose address is now on record for collateral?" My stomach tightened, but I didn't flinch. "That's his problem, not mine." The man chuckled darkly. "See, that's where you're wrong. Family always pays." Click. The line went dead. For a moment, I stood frozen in the middle of the marble foyer, staring at the chandelier swaying faintly above me. They weren't bluffing. My brother's recklessness had finally come to collect, and somehow, he tied me into it. I checked the county records again. Sure enough, tucked inside the deed file was a lien attempt, dated weeks earlier, under my name. My brother had forged signatures. He'd been planning to pin this mansion as collateral before I even knew it was mine. The audacity almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I called my lawyer. Freeze everything. File a fraud alert. Notify the sheriff. And get me every single document with my name on it. By noon the next day, I had a folder thicker than a phone book. Fake loan agreements. Bogus contracts. My signature scrawled across pages I'd never seen. My parents knew. They had to. That night, I drove to their house. My brother's BMW sat crooked in the driveway, music blasting from inside. I rang the bell. Mom answered, eyes narrowed. "You look tired," she said. "Keeping up with your new life already?" I held up the folder and smiled. More like cleaning up his mess. Her smirk faltered. Dad appeared behind her, tense. "Whatever this is, you'll drop it. For the family." I leaned closer, lowering my voice until it cut sharp. "The sheriff will be here tomorrow morning. I suggest you prepare yourselves." For once, they had no comeback. But just as I turned to leave, my brother stumbled into the hall, clutching his phone. He grinned, slurring his words. "You think you've won? Wait until the bank auction. Let's see how you feel when strangers are living in your mansion." The next morning, my phone buzzed at 8:17 a.m. "Sheriff's office. We're outside your parents' residence." You might want to come down. By the time I arrived, the scene was pure chaos. A patrol car in the driveway. My brother pacing with his hair a mess, yelling into his phone. My mom clutching her robe like a shield, whispering furiously to Dad. And Dad, arms crossed, glaring at me as though I had betrayed them. The deputy held up the folder of forged documents. Signatures don't match. This is a felony. My brother snapped. She planted those. She's obsessed with ruining me. I didn't bother arguing. I simply handed over a USB drive with the time-stamped copies I'd pulled from the county's digital portal. Every document, every date, every forged mark, backed up and undeniable. The deputy nodded. We'll escalate this. Ma'am, you're clear. Sir, you'll need to come with us for questioning. The moment the cuffs clicked onto my brother's wrists, Mom let out a wail that rattled the porch. You can't do this. He's our son. Her words cut deep, but not in the way she intended. They didn't say my son. They said our son. I was standing right there, and yet I was invisible again. As the patrol car rolled away, Dad turned to me with venom in his eyes. You've destroyed this family. For a house. I met his gaze steadily.
No, Dad.
I just refused to let your favorite destroy me. For a long moment, silence swallowed us both. That night, as I sat by the fireplace in my mansion, a thought lingered. The deed was safe, my brother was facing charges, and yet, I knew they weren't done. My family had never taken defeat quietly. And right on cue, at 11:42 p.m., my phone lit up with an unknown number. A voicemail dropped seconds later. You think the law protects you? You don't know who you're really up against. I played it twice, the voice distorted, threatening, unfamiliar. My victory was only just beginning to unfold. The voicemail replayed in my head all night. The voice wasn't my father's, wasn't my brother's. It was someone else entirely. Someone they'd pulled into this twisted mess. By sunrise, I had a plan. I called my attorney and forwarded the message. Run a trace. I want to know exactly who's behind this. Hours later, the answer chilled me. The call had come from a burner phone purchased with my parents' joint account. So they weren't just enabling my brother. They were actively weaponizing outsiders against me. That evening, I drove back to the house I grew up in. The front yard was littered with cars, friends, neighbors, maybe even church members. It looked like a gathering staged for sympathy. Inside, my parents sat with smug expressions while my brother, out on bail, sulked in the corner. Mom started first. You think money and paperwork make you better than us? We've spoken to people who can fix this. You won't win. I let the silence stretch, then slid a manila envelope onto the coffee table. Inside, printed bank records showing the burner purchase, cash withdrawals tied to Dad's signature, and emails they thought I'd never see. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's face turned red. My brother muttered something under his breath, but I raised a hand.
No.
You don't get to speak. I leaned forward, voice calm but sharp as glass. You forged documents. You laundered through my accounts. You bought threats with your own money. Every move you've made ties back to you. And tomorrow morning, your friends will read about it on the front page. Not my doing, just the truth coming to light. The room cracked with silence. Even their closest allies shifted uncomfortably, realizing they were sitting beside criminals, not victims. My father tried to bluster. You wouldn't dare. But I cut him off. It's already in motion. Reporters have copies. Bank officials, too. And the sheriff? He'll be here again soon. Except this time, it won't be just my brother answering questions. My mother's hand trembled, clutching her wine glass until it nearly shattered. My brother cursed and stormed out. My father sank back, eyes burning but powerless. As I turned to leave, I said one last thing. You thought I was the weak one in this family. You thought I'd fold. But this house, this life, it's mine. And you'll never take it again. The front door closed behind me, but the weight of war still pressed on my chest. And then, at 2:03 a.m., an email arrived in my inbox. Subject line: Final offer. The sender: my mother. The subject line glowed on my screen. Final offer. For a moment, my hands hovered above the keyboard, my heart pounding. I clicked. Inside was a single line from my mother. Let's talk privately. We can make this right. No apologies. No remorse. Just negotiation like my dignity had a price tag. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer, CCNG the bank investigator, and the local reporter already circling the story. Then I closed my laptop and let silence be my answer. By noon, the fallout began. Headlines screamed about financial fraud, forged deeds, and family betrayal. Neighbors whispered. Friends vanished. My brother lost his job, his car repossessed, and every ounce of his golden boy shine. My parents' accounts froze, their circle of influence collapsing overnight. And me? I stood on the balcony of the mansion, the one they said wasn't mine, watching the ocean waves crash against the cliffs. For the first time, I felt something I hadn't in years.
Peace.
When Dad called, begging, I let it ring. When Mom left voicemails, sobbing about families sticking together, I deleted them all. When my brother showed up at the gates, demanding I fix it, the guards escorted him off the property without a word from me. I had spent years begging for scraps of love, for recognition, for fairness. But I wasn't begging anymore. I wasn't their embarrassment, their scapegoat, or their backup plan. I was free, and as the Christmas lights twinkled faintly on the eaves of my home, I whispered the only gift they had ever truly given me, the strength to cut them out, once and for all.